Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. Sit from the righteous path, I really try not to drift. Try not to be misled by illusions and myths from the Babylon dirty system we have to drift. Try to captivate my mind with tricks and gimmicks. Them try to say Jah dead and we know nothing no go so. Them heaven in the sky and we know. Yeah, alright. He's so real to me. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. Sit from the righteous path, I really try not to drift. Try not to be misled by illusions and myths from the Babylon dirty system we have to drift. Try to captivate my mind with tricks and gimmicks. Them try to say Jah dead and we know nothing no go so. Them heaven in the sky and we know. Them a tell pure lie. Yes, that's how we go. The innocent that die and a same, so we go. So why in this beautiful earth they fight a war? Is it Jah position that they are fighting for? Or is it that they want we be a buckle on a shelf? A raps and Kusha play the song, you know, and nothing else. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always here. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he everywhere. They fight the laws of nature, not the laws of man. And in this world I try not to be judged.
What up, fam? How you feeling?
Additional.
Hey, Camille, what's up?
No mental.
Brooklyn's in the building.
Yes, it is perpetual. There is no place for the trust in your society. Your empires were built on the blood of slavery. That them trust who them that is another story. Try to mix up the words with them funny money. True world to me that really means good health. Like the wax in front the fire, so the wicked have come out. So on your knees, Babylon, I say bow down and repent and now. Oh, Jah, he's omnipotent. My Jah is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, he's everywhere.
Y'all ready for a good vibe? Yeah, what's up? How you doing?
I live by the laws of nature, not the laws of man. And in this world I try not to be judgmental, unconditional. Love it,
Clementine.
the reign of Jah. Yes, it is perfect. So while there is no place for the just in your society, your empires were built on the blood of slavery. God them trust who them, that is another story. Try to mix up Jah words with them funny money. True words to me that really means good health. Like the wax in front the fire, so the wicked are gonna melt. So on your knees, Babylon, I say bow down and repent. I know Jah is on the
Larger Miss the Emperor. Great to see you, fam.
Is real, and I can feel him in this air I breathe. He's always there. Oh, Jah, you're everywhere. My Jah is real, and I can feel him.
What up, Julianne? How are you?
He's always there. He's always
Those joints you don't hear on the regular, not true. Raps and Kush, that's Jay Will and Raps and Kush Band. Jah is real. Album's called Love Your Life, man. Let's keep it moving, alright? Teresa, how's it going?
Sparkling, yeah. So kiss
It's a dope voice of Tommy T, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait, I'll squeeze one more in a double play. What I talk about before we get into the convo, all right?
Have you ever loved somebody so much it makes you cry?
Suzette!
Have you ever needed something so bad you can't sleep at night? Have you ever tried to find the words but they don't come out right? Have you ever? Have you ever? Have you ever been in love so bad you will do anything to make them understand? Have you ever had someone steal your heart away? You will give anything to make them feel the same. Have you ever searched for words to get you in the heart, but you don't know what to say, and you don't know where to start? Have you ever loved so much it makes you cry? Have you ever needed something so bad you can't sleep at night? Have you ever tried to find the words but they don't come out right? Have you ever? Have you ever found the one you dream of all your life?
Watch the mood.
Not anything to look into their eyes. Have you finally found that one you're giving your heart to? Only the farthest one will give their heart to you. Have you ever closed your eyes and dreamed that they were there? And all you can do is wait for that day when they will care. Have you ever loved somebody so much you cry? Makes you wanna break down and cry. So much.
I heard you. I heard you.
I got you. So much it makes you cry. Have you ever needed something?
It's a big tune, not you. Thanks so much, Teresa. Squeezing off some nice ones for you.
Try
Her name's Tammy T.
words, but
One of the dopest songstresses in the reggae game.
try.
Y'all better ask somebody.
Have you ever?
Yes, man. Yes, man.
Have you ever? Have you ever been in love so bad you will do anything to make them understand? Have you ever had someone steal your heart away? You will give anything to make them feel the same. Have you ever searched for words to get you in the heart, but you don't know what to say, and you don't know where to start? Have you ever loved so much it makes you cry? Have you ever needed something so bad you can't sleep at night? Have you ever tried to find the words but they don't come out right? Have you ever? Have you ever? Have you ever found the one you dream of all your life? Just about anything to look into their eyes. Have you finally found that one you're giving your heart to? Only the farthest one will give their heart to you. Have you ever closed your eyes and dreamed that they were there?
saying J. Cole, legal businessman. Bang, bang, boom.
I me say this a protege, eh? Homegrown with G Cole, what you say, eh? We make them know what reggae music we a play, eh? Hey, this is Protege, the one and only representing for G Cole, you know. Check it, he's out.
And we said them not got no style like we. G Cole, them not got no style like we. None of them no wicked, no wild like we. Accurate, Kabaka Pyramid representing for the number one selector on Radio House. It's all about G Cole, keep it locked. Accurate.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Kalia. I'm hanging out with your boy G Cole on the Homegrown Show.
Yes. Welcome one and all. It is Homegrown with G Cole coming to the Massive and Crew live. Gotta give nothing but love, nothing but shout outs, respect everybody listening in on Radio Land. All right, those people listening in on Royal Zion Hannes Radio, Rubber Ranks Radio, everybody, man, Real Vibes Live. Those people listening in on homegrownwithgcole.com. Got a large up, of course, my folks watching live on the Homegrown with G Cole Facebook platform, also on the Jamaicas.com Facebook platform. Thank y'all so much. Of course, always here say I ain't really, I ain't sending enough love to my YouTube fam. Listen, thank you all so much, my YouTube people, man. Everybody over there on YouTube that's watching and having a good time with us. All right, thank you so very much. As always, we say much love, much respect, much honor, large up. Thank you, appreciation, all that good stuff. All right, to all my frontline people, all my healthcare professionals, those people putting it on the line for us, nurses, doctors, paramedics, first responders, all right, those people working in the ERs, okay, pediatrics, all right, firefighters, the good law enforcement professionals, the good ones, all right, the good ones, all right. I got to big up, of course, radiology people, man. There's everybody out there doing what you do. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Them 911 operators, thank you. Thank you. All right, dispatchers, thank you. All right, guidance counselors, those people in education, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All our musicians, all our artists, everybody doing what they do because we need y'all too, all right? Y'all stay inspired so we could be inspired. Trust me, all right? But we got a nice one for you today, and guess what? I'm opening up the phone lines, all right? A lot of times I say, let's open up the phone lines because it's easier to get that dialogue going in a phone convo in adverse to reading the comments. A lot of comments come on. I'm looking at YouTube. I'm a dude. First of all, give me the excuse. I'm a dude. You know what I mean? I could barely multitask, right? You all right? I just moved this microphone up a while ago. You best believe something just suffered over there right now, all right? I'm just letting you know. So, I am not necessarily going to be able to get to all the comments as they come through. Try my endeavor best, right? But if you're able to call when we get to that section of the show, that segment of the show, by all means, all right? The number that gets you live inside of the studio is 954-675-2794. 954-675-2794. And it's listed up there, so you'll see it up there, all right? So let me know. All those people who, you know what I mean, want to get their say at it, right? So, here's it. You know the thing already. Trust me, I be lifting this cup up and burning something down over here, all right? But I got that excuse. They say dudes can't multitask. We're going to ride that one out, all right? We take what we can get, and we ride it till the wheels fall off. All right? Thank you all so much. Again, take a minute to share the link. Tell your friends to tell their friends to join us right here. Those who are driving, just listen, all right? Just listen. Don't bother with the foolishness, all right? We love y'all too much to lose y'all, all right? Everybody, that has a loss going on right now in their family, man. My condolences, my thoughts, my prayers. There's a lot of that going on right now. That's the constant theme on social media these days is RIP and SIP. And so it's tough. It's tough. So I send my thoughts, my prayers, my heart, my soul, my condolences out to y'all, man. Trust me. So the Jamaica Broadcasting Commission, right? And maybe they're just the Broadcasting Commission. All right, but it's the Broadcast Commission of Jamaica. They dropped the hammer on October 11th. Right? And I'm going to read you what came out. This is what came across my desk. I mean, I ain't write it, right? But this is what came across my desk. And I'm going to read it to y'all, and then we're going to get in. All right? It said for immediate release, and this is 2 days ago. Broadcasting Commission issues directive on songs promoting illegal activity. The Broadcasting Commission, here I known as the Commission, has issued a directive requiring broadcasters to take immediate steps to prevent the transmission of any recorded material that promotes and or glorifies illegal activity. Guided by and exercising the powers granted under the television and sound broadcasting regulations, the Commission now requires an immediate halt to the transmission of any audio or video recording, live song, or speech which promotes and or glorifies scamming, illegal use or abuse of drugs, example Molly, illegal or harmful use of guns and other offensive weapons, jungle justice, or any other form of illegal or criminal activity. Any edited song which directly or indirectly promotes scamming, illegal drugs, illegal or harmful use of guns and other offensive weapons, jungle justice, or any form of illegal or criminal activity. This includes live editing and original edits. Example, edits by producers, labels, as well as the use of near-sounding words as substitutes for offensive lyrics, expletives, or profanity. To be clear, the broadcast, and I'm still reading, the broadcast of a sampling of any song which promotes or glorifies scamming, illegal drugs, example Molly, illegal or harmful use of guns or other offensive weapons, jungle justice, or any other form of illegal or criminal behavior is strictly prohibited. The directive reinforces the Commission's commitment to keeping the airwaves free of harmful content, given the important role traditional media still plays as agents of socialization. All right? The use of the public airwaves to broadcast songs that promote or glorify illegal activity could give the wrong impression that criminality is an accepted feature of Jamaican culture and society. It could also unwittingly lend support to moral disengagement and further normalize criminality among vulnerable and impressionable youth and the young adult demographic. Commenting on the directive, Executive Director of the Commission, Cordell Green, said it was the end product of a wide-ranging process that included focused monitoring, decoding of subculture dialect and urban slangs, deliberations on balancing free expressions via protection from harm, and consultations with industry. All right? And so forth, and so forth, and so forth. So that was what came out. Of course, shortly after that came out, as would have been expected, right? It was an uproar. You know, a lot of our more vocal artists and producers and you know, broadcasters voiced their opinion on what was going on, right? So here I am having to go into this too, right? So, for example, Tanya Stevens, one of my favorites, right? Got to big up Tanya Stevens. I really appreciate her outspokenness and her willingness to tackle stuff, even if or even when it comes at a cost to her. So right now, I'm going to read something to you from the Jamaica Observer. And again, this is from yesterday. Entertainers slam Broadcasting Commission's music ban. The Broadcasting Commission earned the ire of Jamaican entertainers on Tuesday after it issued a directive requiring broadcasters to immediately prevent the transmission of any record material that promote and or glorify illegal activity. All right, so we just went over that. All right, and let's get to the rest of it. Bunch of ads in the newspaper, but that's what it is, right? All right, so, and of course it went over and specified all the things. However, shortly after the Commission issued a release with the directive, it was raked over the coals by a number of individuals in the entertainment industry, among them outspoken singer Tanya Stevens, who likened the decision to Einstein's definition of madness. Every single time there is a great pressure to curb crime or antisocial behavior, some of these very same unchanging heads meet again and roll out the same archaic ban as a measure, Stevens states in the letter to the editor published on yesterday. All right. If banning worked, why is there so much more music designated to be banned now? That's what she asked, adding that what is needed to deal with the issues of crime and antisocial behavior is critical thinking and honest conversation. Dancehall music producer Ramesh, in a social media post, said while he doesn't agree with glorifying guns or any use of any drug at all, we cannot stop the creatives, the artists, from singing about what they see around or grew around. Right? He also said that Jamaica has one of the strictest regulations against music. I don't know, and asked if a ban is going to be placed on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, and other platforms where the same people have the access to the same songs. Added the producer, for example, there are strict regulations against anything sexual, even edited, being played on local radio because children listen to radio. Is Jamaica the only country that has children? Because the same children listen to these songs elsewhere. Record producer Tariq Johnson, better known as Russian, posted, "Good thing we don't need radio anymore. I can't remember last royalties paid to me. YouTube the thing there. This is crazy. Let us ask them to write the songs too." All right. So pretty much just getting into some of the responses from members of the entertainment fraternity. And of course, I've gotten a whole bunch of responses myself. All right. Again, phone line's gonna be open right away for those people who want to give their take on it. But again, one, I must commend those people who have the gall and the fortitude to speak up, right? Whether right, wrong, or indifferent, because that is part of what we deem free speech, which right now there's a little line and people are conflating, is what I'm going to say. All right. What is free speech versus what is derogatory speech? You know what I'm saying? Freedom of speech is one thing. Constitutional viable, right? But at the end of the day, other people reserve the right to, be able to walk around and not be forced to listen to things that they deem illicit, explicit, derogatory, and other choice words, right? Let me get to a quick comment here that came from Mr. Richard Blackford. Brethren, this broadcasting commission thing, you cannot expand to generate revenues without requisite controls. They expanded the broadcast landscape, selling licenses to all and sundry without controls. Ha ha ha. Hold on, let's scroll down and get the rest of the thing, because the brother have things to say, The current situation is caused by greed, pure and simple. Censorship, though, is not the answer. So Blackford, let me know the number for the studio, all right? Hit us up and let us know if you want to expound upon that right there. 954-675-2794. 954-675-2794. Now, like I said, many people have their King Tub have their opinions on what's going on, and I have had some healthy conversations myself. All right, getting some stuff right about now on on WhatsApp and all over. All right. But here's the thing. Get a sip of my water. All right. Y'all know the messages keep coming in. So, let me know, folks. What do you think? Do you think, and I mean, for those people who are not in a position to call in, you can always put the comments and I'll try my endeavor best to get to them, all right? Because what I read and what I gather, what I read and what I gather, the numbers in the what's that now? In the header, in the banner, can't run it across the screen, but it's 954-675-2794. Person that shall remain nameless. It is in the WhatsApp post that I sent you about the show, right at the top there. Person that shall remain nameless, nah call, nah name, right? It in the WhatsApp message when me send you. Hit me up, right? So, what we need to understand first, and sometimes, when people want to prove a point, they get technical and they go to the laws and the legislation and say, okay, well, this is exactly what it means and so forth, and them draw them Oxford dictionary and somebody draw the Collins dictionary, and the two never coincide, so nobody's ever right, nobody's ever wrong. But at the end of the day, the radio waves are the radio waves. The radio waves it's public domain, right? This is what by public I mean for the ears that are listening. It ain't public domain because you can't put anything on it. And of course, they're selling ads and all kind of things to go out in that public domain. So how public really is public? Marlon said, why does the Broadcast Commission have to get involved? Shouldn't broadcasters know what's fit for airplay and what is to be played elsewhere? I feel you on that, Marlon, and my answer probably to that would be the same reason why cops are on the road giving tickets. We know that we shouldn't be driving 100 when the speed limit is 65, right? We know we shouldn't be driving 45 in that school zone because we could hurt somebody and we could hurt ourselves. But the car says it could go 120, right? So let's see if it really does, right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to say we need governance in everything that you do. Because there's always folks that will, if we don't have any form of governance, then the broadcasters can do whatever they want to do and say, well, there's no law, there's no rules set in place, right? I'm not a guy that's saying censorship is key and censorship is. I'm not a fan of the word, to be perfectly honest with you, and I do think we misplace and misuse the word a lot because I don't even know if I consider what they're talking about right now censorship. I don't see it as censorship, right? But however, we have to realize that if you leave that up to the broadcasters, then you're leaving up to also to people's discretion and not just discretion, but people's opinions. My opinion of what should be played might not be the same as yours. And guess what may change our opinion? The artists. Because to be perfectly honest with you, a lot of blame what we give to one artist and don't give it to the other is not because of the content, it's because it's the artist, right? I remember, and again, this is not anything to do with this, but I remember one time my wife picky about the things that she listened to, right? My wife picky about the things she listened to. But she loved Luciano. And one time I said to her, I said, boy, say if I did Luciano, if you hear Luciano sing that song there tomorrow, you're going to still listen to it. And guess what she said? Right? Because she's a Lucy fan. No different from the R. Kelly situation. You have some people that no matter what happens, they're still going to bump that Kells because they're just a fan of it. Now, as human beings, being a fan of anything or anyone, your judgment is skewed. And it's not skewed because you don't realize it is. There's a difference between misinterpreting and misconstruing something, all right? Misinterpretation is genuine. Misconstruing is intentional, right? So people can misconstrue stuff if the lines and the laws and the wording and the phrasing allows them to do so. So, going right back to say, I see why the Broadcast Commission has to be involved. That could never be left up to the broadcasters because, one, the broadcasters are contracted to the broadcast facility. So there's two people right there, right? The broadcast facility can pass off the responsibility to the broadcaster. And then guess what? The broadcaster can pass off the responsibility to the artist because that's what the artist gave me to play. And I've got an obligation and a responsibility to the artist to get their work out there. So would I leave it up to the broadcasters? Not just absolutely not, but hell to the no. Right? But that's just me. All right? Clementine says here, people are writing music expressing their life experiences and should be allowed to do that freely. How do you say freedom of speech and then you want to tell them what to sing or say? Bam! What me think there? Now, here's where I agree with you, Clementine. You're absolutely right. That's what freedom of speech is. Freedom of expression is. You can do that, right? Freedom of speech. And I don't think, from what I've read in those things, I don't think the Broadcast Commission is coming down on anybody's freedom of speech. And I don't know anything about them. Not a fan of nothing, any commission, right? Not even Water Commission, me not like, right? So I'm not a fan of any commission or anything. But I don't think they're coming down on people and telling them what to create, right? They are saying what gets played on the airwaves. Now, if you listen to radio, especially Jamaican radio, you're likely, depending on who's on air at that moment in time and what station you're listening to hear dang near anything, right? And it's two things when it comes to lyrical transgressions, if you will. There are words, which is content, and there's context, right? I'm not a fan of the word derogatory being thrown in the mix because derogatory is relative. A lot of times it's just wrong, not the right place and not the right time, right? As far as radio is never is always going to be the wrong place and the wrong time for certain content to be on. Why? It is public ear. Now let me take you back to when I was probably about 15 years old, supposed to be wilding out, right? High school kid. I lie, about 13. Coming from school, I'm a firm court myself and I big up on myself because I don't know the thing already. And everybody who went to high school in Jamaica and have to travel the buses, right? We'd have these buses that coming down, disco wheels, one bag of different names them have, and music turn up. You know what I mean? That's where you're going to hear the latest in dancehall and reggae on these buses. Some things clean, some things fire, some things, but everything just wicked. Some things overly derogatory, but it's just in the name of fun and is having a good time. But I remember, I think I was like 13 years old. I was coming from school on a bus, a little bit later than normal, right? I don't remember what. I think it was a scouting thing. Big up yourself, Robert. Scouting event, and I was coming home a little bit later. So, on that bus with us was, of course, a lot of kids. But there were probably about 5 or 6 adult women. Some maybe my mom's age, some maybe even older. And once the bus drive off and the music started to play, those music are music that we'd normally be like this too, and every irregular evening going to school, going home from school. But I was so disturbed and uncomfortable because I could look at these people, these women, and see that they were uncomfortable with the music that's playing. It's not, it was not fit for regular earplay, right? But they need to go home too, and they're on the bus, right? I liken it to if you're home in the evening watching TV with your children, do you want to see porn on, and you just go sit down with it with your children and watch it and says freedom of speech and it's freedom of expression? Say, man, I slang them things in the afternoon, right? So that's where the whole concept of freedom of speech allows you to say whatever, create whatever as a creative. And that's the thing when it comes to censoring people. I don't think you stop anybody from saying what they want to say. But the airwaves, those free public airwaves, is a different thing. Remember, this ain't new, you know. This is not new by any means, right? It just hasn't been enforced as much lately because of the fact that radio, the dynamics of radio have changed. Over the last 20 years, radio has been losing its population of broadcasters and increasing its population of selectors and DJs, right? Solely a business decision. The DJs are out in the streets and they have a fan base, right? They have a hype. So people follow these DJs and whatever the case may be. So what does the radio station do? The radio station want them on the radio station because they want the listening ear. But these aren't broadcasters, formally trained or otherwise. Are people sometimes with the care and passion enough for the airwaves and what radio is to be able to do things the way it's supposed to be done. You're talking about people who just like they want the hype in at the dancehall, they want the hype on the radio too. So what do they bring along with them? The culture from the dancehall. And when I say dancehall, do not misconstrue. I'm not gonna say misinterpret. I'm gonna say misconstrue it as the music and the genre. I'm talking about the place, right? The place, the dancehall. So what happens here pretty much is they come with that, right? And less value and appreciation for what the airwaves really are. So now you've seen over the years the breakdown of what actually plays on the radio that normally would not be on air, right? And we also see a difference in the talent pool when it comes to artists. One, in terms of talent, just straight up. And two, lazy too. I remember when artists would give you 2 versions of a song. You had the radio version, you had the album version. Contextually, it's the same thing. Contextually, it's not. So the content, the words were different because it just wasn't for radio. But they were talented enough to make sure the context remained the same. And the message was still the same. Artists ain't doing that no more. They're just giving you the raw thing, and you, the producer, have to do the censoring, or you, the DJ, have to do the censoring. Right? Or they'll just ask the producer for blur out certain things. But if your context and your content is a lot of explicit stuff, then you're bleeping out half the song. And the nature of bleeping out songs too is that sometimes it highlights the stuff more than it does censor them. Right? Because if the word is F-U-C-K, a lot of time if you listen to it, they make you hear the F and you hear the K, but you're not going to hear the U and the C, so they didn't violate. But it is blatant right now more than if it was before. Case in point, like I was telling somebody earlier, that song, These Hoes Ain't Loyal by Chris Brown. Right? To be honest with you, I remember that day when I was driving and when I heard the censored version is when it highlighted what they were saying. You know what I'm saying? So, again, I think automatically some people will take it because any rule, anything that happens, there's always people who feel like it's coming at them. Right? Voila. Wrong number that Badusky. Jano, I am so sorry if I call the wrong number. Because Jano, what's the number? I am so sorry. My apologies. How did that number get there? Give me 1 second, Massive. I just put somebody's phone number there. Oh my God. I would like to apologize first of all. All right. The phone number for the studio. I don't even know the phone number for the studio. But may I read out people's number? Homegrown is 954-372-5453. All right? 954-372-5453. My sincere apologies. I am getting old, okay? Just may I get old. We're gonna start this thing off the right way. Carla, I forgot turn down your TV on your end. I'm assuming it's TV because the sound so surround sound is the big Samsung. It's the big Samsung. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, my apologies. Me give the people them number. Everybody I call the lady number.
Me I call people number. I wonder if I soon see them come lick down me house to write it.
Well, I mean, some people want that happen anyway. So me just
You see, I promote violence on the people in the area. You see? Damn. The same thing where I talk about.
Broadcast Commission is coming to get me.
Me I'll give them your address and come see you.
Always a jar reason.
Brethren.
Give me a take.
Brethren, listen. You know that I am not a man who is a fan of the bad man, gunman music thing, right? I put that out there clear, right? A commentator on your program earlier talked about the business of free speech. You know, Jamaica has a reputation worldwide to be one of those countries that promote this business of free speech, right? And we hold to that. The issue with the Broadcasting Commission, in my opinion, there are several factors, several elements of it, right? I think there was a time we've come a long way over the last 30 years, where we moved from 30, 40 years, where we have moved from RJR and JBC to RJR FM, JBC FM, and then you have a myriad of, I think right now you have about 30 or 40 radio stations in Jamaica. And the Broadcasting Commission makes money off those stations because they have to pay for the licenses. It's a revenue generating operation. Right. And I believe that the organization essentially lost its way when you opened up the radio landscape to so many players without having any kind of guardrails. I'm not one who believes in the bad man music thing. And at the same time, I don't subscribe to any kind of censorship, right? But I genuinely believe that if it provides guardrails and so on, people will know what to do. But then let's go back a little bit. Reggae music has always, the reason why reggae music has the kind of international reputation that it has generated over the years is because the music came from the people.
Right.
Right? We've always been, our songwriters, our singers write the songs of their experiences. That is what makes reggae music so potent, because it doesn't follow any form. It is a message music that speaks to the stories of the experiences of the creators of the music.
Right.
The reality of Jamaica over the last 30, 40 years is that the country is a criminal country, a violent country. Mm-hmm. And whether I don't care who no like what I say, because me just give the facts. Mm-hmm. You can't have a country where you have murdered 1,300 people for the last 40 years. That's where we are, right? I posted a photograph. I posted a photograph some time ago on Facebook with a stadium full, 35,000 people. Right. And when I pointed out that in the last 37 years, we have murdered 42,000 Jamaicans.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Which is the stadium more than full. It's about 1 1/3 full.
Right.
That's what that number look like, right? Mm-hmm. Because nobody takes that seriously. And unless the murder comes to your doorstep, nobody pays it any mind. Right. The reality is that as a country, we have failed in terms of how we promote public safety and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And the artists within the communities are merely telling the stories of their experiences. You want to change the lyrics? Change the experiences of the people, the way they live. Provide the kind of infrastructure that will allow people to see life through a different prism. That's how you change those lyrics. Forcing thing, because taking this position that the Broadcasting Commission is doing is a 9-day wonder. In another 3-4 months, you're right back where we are, because that's not the way to go.
And it's happened
you
before.
Have to. It has happened before. Listen, we have been down this road at least 5 times already, right? Mm-hmm. And the result is the same. We come right back to there. So, and then there's another side of it which is abject hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. A big part of this is that we have a political entity. The government has been a failure, abysmal failure in terms of its management of criminal activity and crime and violence in the country.
Right.
And they were the ones who about 2-3 years ago started to talk about badman music is influencing murder. That's crap. Music don't tell nobody to go kill nobody.
So you don't.
People have to have.
So you don't think, and I mean, again, the musicians don't put literally guns in anybody's hands and say whatever. So let me make sure I understand what you're saying for the masses. You're saying that the music influence people for do wrong.
Listen, people have to have a dispensation towards violence to commit violence, right? There has to be that predisposition. Mm-hmm. So listening to a song, right, may promote a kind of feeling, but to say that this is responsible for that. 1,300 people are being murdered every year in Jamaica, and I'm telling you that what we're trying to do is to pin the cause of that onto people who have no responsibility for it, right? That's what it is. Right, and so that is what is shaping this narrative, and what happens in the middle of all of that is that we have all this foolishness and this excitement carrying on, but nothing happens that is looking at how are we going to stop the bloodletting in this country. Nothing.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're on the money, and this is what Tanya was saying too, which is so true. Anytime. Because it's not the first time, it ain't the second time, it ain't the third time in my lifetime. Anytime there is a call against crime and they cannot find the answer, which they've failed to find the answer and a solution for a long time, but it's kind of, and this is just my opinion, no, it's hard to find a solution in remedying something when you put the poison out, right? But that's a different show. Now, when it comes to the fact that people are asking for the remedy to crime or whatever the case may be, and a lot of times solving crime may not be what we're going to do, but we need to find a scapegoat. And over the course of time, the scapegoat has been the music, and in particular the dancehall artist, right? So that part I am in 100% agreement with. The other part of it, which is we're talking about Pandora's box now, is this. If we do open up any commission, and once we say commission, we're talking government right here, to be able to have that hand in the media and control and say this is being banned and that is being banned, then don't we also open up, because this also has happened, do we not also open up now the avenue for them to politicize the control of the radio? So if an artist
But that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening.
So no, if
that
you
want to ban a song
because them a talk about the party in the song or whatever, we can drop a ban on it real quick. So I think
because the gate, you have just bust a crack in at the door by going down this road. And so all you now need to do is, totalitarianism always starts with this kind of approach, right? And Jamaica has been showing this penchant towards some sort of a totalitarianist approach. Over the last, I would say, certainly the last 5-6 years, you see it. The disregard for the Constitution, the militarizing of certain institution, if you will, as if the only people who can get a job in another country are former officers of the Jamaica Defense Force. All of this is what I consider to be a march towards totalitarianism. And all you need to do is just crack the door. And the minute you use it to scapegoat something else because you have a problem that you can't fix, so we use this. But while we do this, we also create the kind of platform on which we can come in and do other things.
So it is the ulterior motive. It's the underlying ulterior motive which lies there. Because again, remember, this is not you and I being genius right now and figuring and say, yo, this may happen. This is what has happened. So we're going based on history.
We have seen it before. I'm old enough, Paddy. Old enough. I'm 64 years of age. I've been here a long time.
Right.
And I've seen it multiple times before.
That ain't that long, man.
Right?
That ain't that long.
Yeah?
That ain't that long.
Multiple times. Eh?
That ain't
yeah, but the point is the country is just turned 60 years old. I've been there. I was 5 years old when we became independent.
Right.
So I've been through all of this thing, right? And so nobody can put I have a significant investment in terms of my own personal education, right? Politically and otherwise. So I'm not espousing anybody else's thing. I've been there. I've walked the walk thing. I've seen it up close. And we need to be careful.
Let me ask you this question, because at the end of the day, and sometimes it's not necessarily about playing devil's advocate as much as there's always multiple sides to a story. And this is the unfortunate thing about government, politics, and all them things, is that a lot of times they use the needs, the small needs, to exercise their great wants. Right? So let me ask you this. Right now, over the past couple of years, as you listen to radio in Jamaica, the landscape of radio in Jamaica is it's harsher right about now. Not just the fact that we have more dancehall music playing on radio, because I love dancehall music, but the content of the music right about now that you're hearing on the radio waves is a lot harsher than there was before. My question to you is this. Are you opposed to, because I don't hear them saying people don't make the music and don't play it at the dancehall. We're talking about radio here. Are you opposed to any form of restrictions being put on music that blatantly highlight, like they said, criminal activity, drug use, misogyny against women, in the fact of rape and all them, which I've heard in music? Are you opposed to them saying, nah, that's too much, don't play that on the radio?
Let me answer it this way. Again, if you change the way, if you make the investment in really, normalizing people's life, if you will, right? A man talk about beat up woman because of that him seen in community, right? A common thing, which part of it. Two, man and woman can get along thing. That's why we treat women with that kind of disregard, because it's a part that has been something that has been enmeshed in our society. If you invest in educating your population, teaching people how to reason, how to deal with the, what we call conflict resolution, right? You don't have to worry about controls, if you properly educate people, where people recognize that having a conflict is a normal part of people's existence.
Right.
The solution to it is not to take somebody's life or to beat them up. You and I can have a conversation about anything, and we don't have to agree, right? What we agree to is the right that each of us have to have a point of view.
Right.
That takes time, and it requires a different kind of investment and our policymakers. And I'm not just knocking the current administration, because all of them guilty. For the last 30, 40 years, we have made no meaningful investment in developing our population. We have a handful of schools that we call them the blue chip schools, if you will, right? But there are 168 or 69 high schools on the register, and more than 70% of them, the students in those schools cannot pass. You don't have 20% of those students passing 5 CXC exams. So
why,
essentially those schools are warehouses.
So while we focus on the educational part of it, educating our, which I strongly believe is the cure for many of the ills that we have, not just in Jamaica but in the world. While we focus on educating our populace and making sure that we can change the mindset, wouldn't allowing that to be celebrated on the airway would be somewhat counterproductive? In other words, yes, you mentioned that people see violence going on and that's why it's normalized for them. But if they walk into your schoolyard, you're not going to say, boy, well, I'm going to beat up people and talk to your teacher because that's what they see in your communities. You're going to try to stop them and tell them it's wrong. So if that be the case, then why would we be opposed to them saying, okay, for the purposes of radio, no, we have to kind of mitigate and put some control on not your content that you want to create, but what's going out freely and openly in these airwaves to, again, I know we always say that music not influence people a certain way, but if we can say Bob Marley, One Love, and all the music that make people feel that way, and if we can say it's song help free people in Africa and do this and that, then I personally, I am going to give it enough credit to say, yes, it can affect negatively too. But the question to you is, wouldn't it be counterproductive if we are saying we're going to try to educate the people, but we're doing nothing about the message that they are hearing, if we can do something about it?
Listen, part of how we deal with, getting rid or managing criminality is that you have to have what you call multiple strategies in operation at the same time, multiple approaches. It's not a one approach that fits everything. And so along the way, yes, we'll have to find a way. I don't want to call it a ban or a sanction, but you need to put some guardrails on, right? You made a point at the beginning of this show where you talk about radio stations don't hire program presenters anymore. They hire DJ, right? And so maybe that's what you need to look at. We need to create now and set some standards. And if those standards says this is what a normal, the modicum for broadcast is all about, you have to follow this template. Your job is to follow that template. That's a different thing from sanctioning, because when you start to ban things, the next step is that you tell a man that if you open your mouth and say something that we don't agree with, we're going to lock you up too, right? And that's what I'm concerned about. The step is a baby step towards a bigger, what can become a much bigger problem.
But are you saying it's an unnecessary step? In other words, if you are signing off right about now, you're in disagreement with them saying don't play certain things on the airwaves. You're saying play whatever on the airwaves. Go deal with this. Go deal with.
No, I'm not saying they must play anything. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we need to be careful of the kind of sanctions. You need to read the Associated Press went deeper in the articles that in the representations from the Broadcasting Commission. It says you should avoid using certain words in your broadcast. You should avoid talking about money. You should avoid talking about wealth. You should avoid using terms like bank account. You should avoid using terms like money transfers and them sort of things. Now, these are terminologies that append to global international commerce. I run a business that I sell goods to people all over the world, right? And so the banks make money off advertising those transactions. So by extension, you're telling me that you can't play an advertising that's talking about money transfer.
But you and me know say them that's
no, but it's a ridiculous the extent to which the arguments are ridiculous. And so I'm not in a position to tell you. Okay? All I'm saying is, guys, be careful, because
Pandora's box.
we look stupid on a global scale. When I read this AP article, here's a country that created reggae music. Here's a music that talks about people's experience. Everywhere in the world, we have the same gun crimes and so on. So when our artists are leak out or amplify the problem with murder and gun crime and things, we're not just talking to our population. You have to talk to a global population, because the problem is a global one, right? Right. And so we need to be more broad-minded. If you have an educated population, you don't have these problems. The problem is that we have cultivated a dunce culture in Jamaica.
I think that's a part of the problem.
This is the price we pay for it. Yeah,
I think that,
absolutely.
but there are a lot of educated criminals out there too, and the thing about it is this. I'll stop with this. I have another caller coming, but here's what I will say. I agree, it's a Pandora's box, and at the end of the day, there's ulterior motive. All of that's in there. The unfortunate thing is to support it's nothing worse than when somebody say, "Don't do this because of this," and you do something to support their argument. That's exactly what it is.
We need to pick it up again next man and next thing. But I'm just going to give you my 2 cents.
But I appreciate it, because it makes perfect sense. I appreciate you, sir.
All right, boss.
All right, much love.
Good show.
Give thanks. Call. Wow, one more coming. We have another one coming right about now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take this one right here. Call it live.
Respect, greetings, and blessings to UG Cole and all the listeners.
Thank you, sir.
Program.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. DJ Dean, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check him out, Live 11 Radio. Vibes on vibes on vibes. So let me know what you're saying, sir. Right. What's your take on this whole hullabaloo?
We have to discuss this. It needs to be discussed. But we can't take away from the fact that something needs to be done. We can't limit the creation of, but we do have the responsibility, as you mentioned in a very, very good point, in the broadcast of pornography on TV. Is what I'm saying? Likened to that. And too often I've heard the statements mentioned that music does not influence. That is a lie.
Blatantly.
Music have influence. We have heard of word power and so on, yeah? Or we can go biblical, we can say life and death is in the power of your tongue.
Yep.
Yeah? We can go either which way. So what do we listen to music? If we're not listening to the instrumental, we're listening to lyrics. Right. And we bring both of them together and we have a production of a song. Yeah? So in that, music creates a vibe, a mood. So if you're saying that music does not influence, that is far from the truth. We're not speaking truthfully. Most times when a man wants to do something, I want to send a message to a girl. What we don't find a selector and say, "Yo, selector, play the song for your girl." Like you want to send a song to a girl from back in the day. You know, we could do the thing. We never, we probably never have the lyrics ourselves, but we shy away, you know. If
an artist want to emasculate another artist, when they create a song and sing, you. No, killer allegedly done merciless career.
There we go. So we can't mask the fact that we have a responsibility as broadcasters, as a nation, to censor what we have in the national landscape of our airwaves. again, you can't tell a person what to listen in their own private home or, when they play a dance or certain things. I don't know how they're going to censor that. But of course, something needs to be done on the airways. You see what I'm saying? We're going to talk about education. We have education. We have songs that we learn through education, our A, B, and C, months of the year. 2 songs. You see what I'm saying?
Here's where I'm going to super agree with you, is this. I've also had artists, because people say what they say depending on the argument they're trying to promote. And this is what I mean.
There you go.
I've had artists say out of their mouth, straight out of their mouth, say, turn on your radio on your end. I've had artists say straight out of their mouth, say, the type of songs that I do, it champion people for do this and do that and whatever the case may be. And then also when they want to get the endorsement from the business, them say, yeah man, we have the ears and the heart of the people, right? But when you say to them, say, boy, what about the opposite way? Then them tell them, say, no, what we are saying, not really control nobody, not tell nobody if you go do nothing. So it's just a matter of what is convenient and when it is convenient for them.
Here we go.
You know what I mean?
Here we go. And to hear some of the songs I can't even listen to anymore. Because if you go tell me you go put into a song your ritual of your protection and your guard ring and your blood with a drink and whatever sacrifice you then make to protect your scamming thing or whatever you got going on, we have crossed the line. Not even in the sense of even creating that, but to have that which was created to put on the broadcasting airways, that is ridiculous.
So are you saying, because this is what I am not saying that a man can't make what he want to make, if that all those lyrical content where you just said a while ago, if you want to make that and you want to put it up on iTunes, where if in order for me to find it, I've got to go type it in and listen to it, because that means I want to hear it.
And you can stream it and buy it. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm not supposed to just randomly hear that populate in my ears when me no want to hear that.
When me no want to hear it, exactly. And that is what I think something needs to be done there. You understand? Something needs to be done there, and it has gone too far. And the dynamic of who are the broadcasters is a whole different ballgame as well. Because, as you mentioned, some of these radio stations go after a popular selector. To try to boost the popularity of their radio show that they have, or their radio station that they have. Which has some effect on the way that broadcasting as a profession then has been dealt with over the last couple of decades. And it, to a person who is a trained trained announcer, trained broadcaster, it is almost like either scam them or they hustle them profession. You understand? It will seem like that. Not to say that you have to go to the professional or the trainings that a person endures for how many years they go to college for, institution for, to become a broadcaster. There's something that you can do without that necessary training, but you still maintain the integrity of what the broadcaster's responsibility is or are.
No, that's facts. Yeah? That's facts right there. And for me to clarify for the listening ears, I'm not opposed to you, because if I'm running a business and that person, the popular person, then I'll bring them on too. But the clarification here is this: it's not about who you bring on, but in everything, whether it be corporate America, whether it be in the military, whatever the case may be, when you bring somebody on, it is then your responsibility to train them, right?
There you go.
And you bring on people who are not trained in this, that's fine. Right? Most people don't work in the avenues in which their education or the degree is in. So you go somewhere else and you get the training. Train them what to do. Because here's the thing. People act like this is new, Radio stations and broadcast entities have been getting sanctions and fines for years.
Years, man. Ever since. We can't remember one of the songs when they did at the UK. I can't remember which one of the popular group is singing this. So something about even Cocotti and Shabba did that song.
They might call us pirates. Yep.
So these are not only locally in Jamaica, but we find these things happening. Back then it was in the UK referencing. Yeah. But we see that these things are happening in other Caribbean countries where some Caribbean islands are not allowing certain acts to be performed for their people. Yeah,
Because
and
somebody got to do something. I don't know who it is, but somebody got
something
to do
has to
something.
be done. Something has to be done, and it has to start somewhere. Yes, we may be opening a Pandora box, but something has to be done. Some regulation needs to take place because we were not like this.
But we go back to
were
this now,
never
DJ. The problem here is this. We know how unethical and unscrupulous government is, especially Jamaican government, Caribbean government, right? So again, it's not just cleaning up the airwaves, it's cleaning up the airwaves, taking it to control it and politicize it. And I think that's because a lot of times it's fear, people respond more than anything out of fear. These artists are talented, they're not fool. So in all honesty, if it's a situation where, listen, we're not saying you can't say what you say, but we can't be that explicit on the airwaves. Put it where it's supposed to be and whatever the case may be. But again, Pandora's box. The next step is going to be, again, like the previous caller said, arresting people for saying certain things. The next step is going to be anytime an artist say, okay, you know what, I notice a politician doing something wrong, I'm gonna do songs about it. Next thing him song banned on radio. If the powers that we have a personal personal gripe, then I'm but we've been there before.
We've been there. But you see, some of the things we have to learn, that the history of the lessons are there. Right, but we have to be wise and smart as we have been, decades now since those things have been happening. But we have to come to a point of smarts now to see how can I go around that. You understand? But nonetheless, even if you talk about this politicizing of the music, we see that politicians are come with dub plates and all them something. That is foolishness.
From the same artist.
You understand?
The same artist.
From the same artist, but then these same artists give them the same dub plate. So me make a food and me make a money or whatever the case may be. We have gotten so far away from some of our very strong values, core values that we have as a nation. Yeah, that is a whole different thing anyway. But we've gotten so far away from this thing that we just always a hustle after the money. Anywhere we go, anywhere we have to get it. Anywhere we want, anywhere we have to get it, we have to go for we have to get it or whatever. Anything we want, we have to get it or whatever the case.
Insinuating that you will kill for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet when those things happen, now we find our society constantly declining because we're after that fast money. That where's the hard work and value that we had before. Now we have more open access to certain levels of education. So we should be able to do it more smarter. Not that we have to do it as hard as our grandparents or our great grandparents did. Yeah, but we can do at least some smarts to it. Yeah, with some natural smarts. But yes, the tendency to be hardworking and really still out there cut the corners them just to make a buck ahead. You understand? This whole scamming thing that we have picked up, not to say that we were the originators of scamming. You understand? But we have taken up this app or this new thing here now to a different level.
What they have done is this: they have made scamming mainstream. To the point where they've now they have children aspiring to it like it is a job, right? And they're free to go, because I've seen interviews where them come on and say on an interview on a major broadcast platform that's what they do, and they're cool with it, and scamming is just, and people say
they're cool with it.
Yeah.
I've heard it, and I've heard young, and this will break my heart about 2-3 years ago. I've heard they have career day.
I saw that video.
And a young youth come to school and say, I'm scamming him one. He want to become a scammer, forget about school.
Yeah.
But school is going to carry you go. When you can't get all of it, your mother and your father that work for over a year, you can't get it in a one day.
Yeah. Because here's the other thing now. If what you're saying is this: aspire to be a scammer, people have to protect them things and whatever case. Maybe say you scam the wrong man and the man kill you. So that means is there a clause in it that says, okay, I'm gonna do the scamming and I'm prepared to die? You know what I mean? And if it is, don't investigate the opposite side. It's not murder. It's just somebody that protect them thing. It's that's the domino effect of everything going down the road. You know what I mean?
And that's what has been happening to the friends. I see them friends that have lead sheets. I kill them one another for lead sheets.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Something has to be done.
It has.
The murder rate is too high. I'm not going to go down the path of the violence thing or whatever. But for persons to say that music does not influence a person to pick up a gun. Brother, if you hear all the time for woman this and give you a bun, kill it or do this and do that, and you really get the chance to get a bun in your chip, lick for real, and you go find yourself with a pipe, where you go do? What you're going down that today here all the time.
Yeah, it's
you
programming.
You never had the information before, but that you constantly are here.
We cannot ignore the fact that radio is a source of programming. That's the reason why the commercials are sold, because if them say it enough time, we're going to buy this something. You understand?
Exactly.
So it ain't no different
when
from
you
the
say
song.
it. No different. You put a beat to what you're saying, it's just, if you constantly hear the same thing over and over again, brother, in your mind. Constantly. So, we can't go around the fact something needs to be done. I'm not going to say it too long. Many people are going to find different qualms about the whole thing. Yes, you're opening up different box. A whole different thing can come from it, but something needs to be done, and we as a people need to do better. We are the pride that we should have in our music.
Yeah.
Man, look at what the other ethnicity and other nations are taking up our music that we create and what they're doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what the authenticity of what it was created for, what they're doing with it. And yet we're finding issues with another ethnic group or another race-looking type of persons making strides with the music that we created. What are we glorifying? What are we playing on the radio? What are we listening on the radio?
You're preaching, brother. You're preaching.
So,
you're preaching.
we need to stop the hypocrisy and the foolishness, brother. And we need to do what we need, what we have, take pride in what we have, and make it work for us. Virgin, right now, we never feel like go to Jamaica because of how the people and mentalities are, brother.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
How the people is, man. As beautiful as the place is, as where we were as the leaders of the Caribbean, we are way behind. Our dollars is not even worth anything.
Yeah.
When you find people to leave Jamaica to go other islands to make a living. Come on, we were the leaders of the Caribbean.
We used to be. We've fallen.
So what happened?
Fallen so far, and it's funny.
We not far. We dropped.
We dropped our girl.
We dropped G.
I'm broke like a ripe
We
breadfruit.
dropped G. We never get up back here. We didn't brush out. We didn't even catch them stage yet. Because you find that the politicians and people who are in place of influence are only grabbing for themselves and not for the people, not for the betterment of the people.
But
We're in a very bad state.
That is the problem right there. The people who the people who are enforcing the rules are the people who broke the rules. The people who are saying we need to do better are the ones who created the problem and all them little things. And the unfortunate thing is, I say this over and over and over and over and over, and I'd love to sit down with any politician. I don't speak politics as I don't speak religion. I'm gonna speak English. They can speak whatever they speak. But at the end of the day, the truth be told is this: them dropped the ball. If the government was a corporate entity, every last one of them would have been fired. My brother.
And the same people that we have, G, the same people that we have, the so strong people, the same people that we have go across the entire world, and we know as the people that take disrespect, and we not take this, and we not do this, we are bad man. See, the same people who pride themselves on these things, yet still not hold the same government what them have are elect. You don't hold them accountable.
Nope.
Foolishness we talk. We only full up on speech. Again, there we go. Same thing. Censor the speech. We'll full up a beer talk.
Yeah.
You understand? And we've not tried to make our nation better. And yes, we have to clean up our airways. We need to, and it goes across the board even with the, I'm not really sure what they're showing on the televisions back home in Jamaica right now. Because, cable come in and all of different things start happening when cable come in as well. But nonetheless, what we have, because remember, brother, radio was people's eyes to the gateway to the world, because not everybody used to have TV. But you want to know the people up in the country, up in the hill, they want a 9-volt battery that come from fire, because they want to listen to them radio can tune in, you understand?
Yep.
Because you have to have something to the radio. Even have TV or want to have something to listen to. So we need to do better, and whatever we can support, let's support it, but let's draw whatever lines we need to be drawn, ask the questions that need to be asked, address what needs to be addressed. If things that go overboard, so we need to, put certain measures in place, accountability measures in place. But something needs to be done, and I believe anything to help clean up my country, I am with it. You see what I'm saying? Too many young guys are dying. Too many young girls are dying. And it's most of it is influenced and very popularized in the music that we are creating.
Right. I feel you, brother. I feel
So,
you.
Virgin, you're doing a good job.
Give
And
thanks.
all the listeners have a wonderful, blessed night to you all right?
Appreciate it.
DJ Dean signing out, right? Representative.
Easy. Give thanks, my brother. Give thanks.
That's it.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a conversation on reasoning, you know what I mean? Tracy Ann says, well, one of the many strategies is to censor the radio waves. The directive is well needed. Derogatory speech and lyrics should never be our progressive. And of course, I think you were referring to when we had our previous caller on the line. And you also said, yes, they can sing about the problems in our society, but not glorify it. There's a difference. I'll say this. I don't believe in glorification or anything negative. And Tracy Ann, I'm welcome, first of all. Again, always good to have you. I'm in 100% agreement with the fact that we shouldn't be glorifying certain things. I am not in agreement with censoring anybody from saying it. You can say anything you want to say on a recording. You're just not allowed to broadcast it freely to everybody who on a free public airway, right? You can walk naked if you want to in your house, but you're not supposed to be walking down the street buck naked. It don't work that way it is. So I don't believe in dictating what somebody creates, right? The dispersion of that, then it is what it is. And I mean, DJ Lance said we're going backwards. Exactly what you mean, my brother. Let me know. Julian said, does reggae use the kind of language that dancehall uses to describe the same experience? Not in my experience, Julian. It doesn't use the same language, but I also don't think it. You know, context is a heck of a thing, right? Context is a heck of a thing. And I'm gonna get back to that with you in a second. Let's call you live.
Yeah, man. This is Jonathan, the man from Cloud, long time listener, first time caller.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks. Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Well, you know, sir, let me tell you something. Mr. Blackford made a very good point, which is something I always talk about. You know, again, if you read the spirit of the letter that was sent out, it was really like you said. We just don't want it on the radio. You can do it anywhere else you want, just not on the radio. But the point that Richard made about the number of people in the stadium, the number of murders since he's been following this thing. Where was the gunman tune them when the other stuff people have been dead before, from back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Which set of gunman tune did I promote that? You see, you have to remember, you know, like Richard said, you know, you have to have the proclivity to murder, right? And everybody can murder, right? Even in a fight to save them life, them can't do it, right? But to ascribe it now to the music is total rubbish. That's what I say. It's total rubbish. Because you tell me, you know, just because it now play on the radio again now, the next 6 months, crime will drop.
No, I don't think. I don't. I again and again, disclaimer. Don't support the brat. I'm no farmer commission. I don't support them. But to address that in terms of no, if you stop playing the music, it doesn't mean that the crime's going to drop. But here's you know which job I would not want today. I wouldn't want the job of a leader of anything, right? Because at the end of the day, you're judged by the results, and in all honesty, it's no matter what you do, somebody is pleased and somebody's offended. But somebody always think you ain't doing enough, right? So at the end of the day, if you're putting all these hard, you know, boots to the ground effort into trying to reduce crime and doing this and doing this and doing that, but then it's okay for people to say on public airwaves, kill them, right? So it's okay for me to tell the child in school that peace and love and harmony, violence is not the case, right? But when he goes home, he can turn on the radio and hear the counter that violence is all it's about, and you have to kill him. Mara for fly, right? On the radio, right? A step has got to be made. An attempt has got to be made. My issue, and I'll say it's over and over, loud and proud, is not with them restricting anything from being made. You can't censor people. My issue pretty much is this. Just don't play it on the radio. And everything.
Yeah, and that is fine. That is fine. We don't have a problem with that. But when reggae news now, like the swap back Black Dog to Monkey and all them, and say, look over there. When owners actually come out and say, boy, the reason why people get scammed with the land, because when all state people go down there, the criminal them run way out, right? Run out the state sponsored gunman them, right? So how is it that now regular people supposed to regulate themselves in a situation like that, right? So in the same thing with the music now, I know the music, this thing is bigger than the artist and the music, them.
It is.
Bigger than that. So they have bigger problems what they don't want to deal with.
And the scapegoat and the artists are scapegoats, especially dancehall artists. Have always been. This is nothing new. They've always been a scapegoat. But at the end of the day, we cannot deny the fact say something are going wrong on the radio waves. Remember, there's different things can come out and do the things different ways. There's a million things to address, but it doesn't mean that this ain't one of them. You know what I'm saying? No, my concern, and I'm sure this is the fear and the concern of most people, is the Pandora's box of them politicizing this approach. Because believe it or not, once them get legislated out, they say, boy, them can dictate and control what gets played on the radio. Come election time, if you're not sing songs of praise for them, you don't know so certain songs ain't getting played on the radio, right? And the unfortunate thing is, we do not want the puppeteers in control of the broadcasting entities because it's another way for them to use it for their own good. And of course, take it out on the populace too, because people will then, like Richard said earlier, next thing you know, man, I get arrested for what he says. So I again, radio is what the issue is here. I am not for every and anything being played on the radio. I am also 100% not for you telling people what to create.
Well, that's at the end of the argument, right? That's all. You can't say what to create, but dear what? But go on for yourself. You can control the part that you can do one over. That's so. But to say there's a correlation, there is this graph that once you go of the X to Y, it correlates. It's total rubbish. That's what I'm against with this whole narrative of pinning the tail on the scapegoat, this jockey them. Yeah, make the man them free up, yo. Anyway, I got
Ladies and gentlemen, Carla, give thanks here. Give thanks.
Yes, sir.
But I send them come on your Facebook page. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for the participation, man. I appreciate it. Larry says, enough artists are hypocritical mockers, modern day Judas. Most dancehall music created nowadays needed to be banned from the public airwaves. And it's not, you see, the thing is, it because of the fact, people always say, boy, is people coming on dancehall music? You know, to go back to what Julian Lee asked earlier, are reggae artists saying the same things? No, they're not. They're the same people though, because some of them just as bad, but they're just not saying it. It's just because it's Sonics. Sonics, Julian Lee. Here's the thing. It's just like certain, and as a matter of fact, some reggae artists are doing it, but it's just not a lot. It's just like hip hop versus R&B, right? It doesn't sound no way if it's rap about sexual exploits. It does sound that way when you slow it down on a nice melodic rhythm and a rap about deep sexual exploits. It's a little harder to swallow. So I think for that reason, and probably that reason only, is the reason why you don't hear certain content in reggae music. Because the practitioner of reggae music, they're just good at it. It doesn't mean that they are great people and have any moral fortitude at all, right? Based on my experience and what I've seen with these folks. So to answer the question to some extent, no, reggae in in the grand scheme of things, the reggae artists are not saying what the dancehall artists are saying. They're only doing it, right? Coach just said, if we continue practicing the same behavior over and over, whether positive or negative, you will adapt to the behavior in society, physiology or mentally. We must promote more positive than negative behavior. 100%. Teresa said, the fish rots from the top. Jano, up at top, rotten long time. Long time. You know what I mean? Larry said, well said. And again, thank you all so much. Larry says, anyone who says the music doesn't influence anybody to do anything, they're lying. Music influenced all range of things, including political change. That's where I stand too. But again, when we are protect what we need to protect, we say whatever we need to say. And at the end of the day, the onus, I think the reason why the approach is as such and the viewpoint as such is because, it's, if I tell you to go do it and you do it, it's two different things, right? If I normalize it and you go and do it, it's two different things. But at the end of the day, I used to be told when I was a kid, the bribe I get more strokes, right? There are situations where one person convinced somebody else to go commit a crime and they are held responsible too, right? So responsibility goes multiple ways. Because I said the young generation is the branch, elders are the root. We as elders must show positive vibration, positive behavior to the young generation so they can follow the path to bring forth positive future for their generation. Life is a cycle, continue repeating. What we sow, that we reap in life. We have to make changes, not the same cycle over and over. I feel you on that. I think majority of the problems that we have are the elders have created. That's the difference with my output. I think the elders are responsible for majority of the problems right now. The youth have modernized and have taken to another level what the elders have done. Age and eldership over the years have been a nice, beautiful blanket under which hypocrites can hide, right? Andrew Holness and his predecessor are not the first politicians to have done us wrong, done the nation wrong, do wrong on a daily basis and stand up very well dressed and tell you, say, you wrong, and pee on you and tell you that it's raining. They're not the first ones. It's always been going on, right? What they've done is they've modernized and made more potent the ill that they've been taught. You know what I'm saying? So, for lack of a better word, they're the Bluetooth in the car. But it's not the first time there's been music in the car. All right? All right? We are come from cassette, CD. We have Bluetooth right about now. Cassette, CD, auxiliary, Bluetooth, right? But at the end of the day, there's always music in the car. Right? And the elders them created. So to be perfectly honest with you, I have more faith in the youth. I have seen more, right? Now, we've created the youth. We've created the monsters, right? And a lot of the elders them too, being hypocrites of the cause, no say, hey, Mongo, a certain amount of time and somebody so live free and do my thing and whatever, I'm gone and I can take this thing and go on with it, right? But at the end of the day, the Bob said, you can't blame the youth. Can't blame the youth. The elders need to take the blame more than anybody else. Large up yourself, Emilius. Let me see what else we got going on here. Sir Sydney, what's going on? What's going on? How are you? Listening, good show. What we seem to forget for years in Jamaica is the fact that the airwave assigned, which are in parentheses, assigned frequencies, I love that, are public goods. The government is in fact the guardian, and the Broadcast Commission has the responsibility to protect that goods in the interest of the nation, right? Any song that cause one to turn the radio down or off when driving your children to school does not belong on the radio, right? Here in the States, we have strict regulations that restrict certain songs to 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. In addition, because broadcasting hours are infinite, every scamming or derogatory song that get played, one progressive song got left out. I love that. That right there says facts. And on top of that too, just got to reiterate, yes, the airwaves not free, right? The airwaves are not free. None of what's going on right now is new, and I agree with all of that, Sydney, trust me. Well stated. Again, the fear of the people, which is the concern of mine, right? The fear of the people, the concern of mine is the Pandora's box. But it might be such a chance we're going to have to take. We're going to have to say, you know what? It's either we say we don't do nothing and we play the blame game and we say, go down this or go do that, right? There's 10 things that need to be done. But I prefer when you do things 8, 9, and 10. Come back to 1, 2, and 3 later. Right? When the truth is 1, 2, 3 all the way through 10 needs to be done. So maybe this is one in the cog of 10 that has to be taken, care of. Richard said the government do nothing to address the criminality in Jamaica. That's facts too. They're criminals themselves, right? And let me the views of G Cole does not represent those of Jamaicans.com, even those of Homegrown with G Cole. I'm going rogue, right? I always stand by my sentiments in saying the most unsuccessful, the most failed entity in Jamaica is the government, right? For all the businesses that went under, the government is worse. The problem is, who bodyguard the bodyguard? They can't fire the government, right? But a firm believer, just like I said about the pastor them, if the Almighty came down here and was doing quality assurance and giving people pink slips, and I fire all of the pastor them, majority of them, right? It's the same thing. If we were looking at a situation where if you were grading all of our politicians on a scale and that was what maintained their employment, majority of them would be working at a call center today, right? If them not put away the money when them stole, right? They would be at a call center today, all right? Richard says, them not do nothing to address the criminality in Jamaica. Attaching the responsibility to the music is a red herring. There is no correlation between music and crime. I would love to agree, but I cannot. But I feel you. It is not, one is not a direct result of the other, but there's correlation. In my eyes, the views expressed by G. Cole. So that's because I said the part there, I'm not going to sing that song there, right? And of course, Sean Garrity echoes the sentiment saying zero correlation. Larry says, I agree with you, brother. Radio needs to regulate the music they play on the air. Granted, we can't restrict creativity, but we can't glorify certain behavior in music. And again, we find the things that are the trigger points in everything. This is what we're all politically inclined, and that's why people talk about avoiding politics. We can't avoid politics because we're all politicians, right? Because we've latched on to the word, the murder and the crime. That ain't the only problem, right? What about our moral declination, right? The decline in our moral standards, that ain't nothing, right? But again, we're all politicians here, daytime politicians, in terms of we're hanging on to the things that can hammer on the point a lot more, right? It's not just about the crime, right? And again, anything you normalize, right? At the Christmas carol, them normalize Christmas for majority away. The Christmas carols normalize Christmas for majority of us growing up as kids, way more so than anything else, right? I remember the words of my Christmas carols way more than I remember the lines of the Christmas plays and pageants that I participated in, right? So I cannot ever agree with anyone who says that the music doesn't have an influence. But then you're going to tell me on the other hand how great Bob Marley's words influence the world and why the rest of the artists them must do what they're doing. And that's why they can't have the same amount of effect and can't sell the records and can't have the impact and can't stay up on the charts because they're not influencing anybody like Bob Marley did. But then we have said them can't influence it. So again, I think we are creatures of convenience and we put wheels on the goalpost and we move it to how we feel the need to do so, right? But that's how the thing go. Richard said, hold on there. Give thanks to all of the comments and all. Yeah. All right, so where are we? This edict from the BC is a distraction from the government. Well, we've gotten so we've learned so well how to distract. You're so right about that. That campaigned on its ability to halt the criminal side, and they have failed abysmally. 100% true. The episode is to grab people's attention even while the body count continues to rise. 100% true. By the way, by the way, we have reported 1170 murders in Jamaica year to date. We're well on our way. Sorry, the messages are coming in, so it's pushing up the stuff. Well on the way to 1,400 murders by year end. The censorship will save not a single one of those lives. I definitely wouldn't argue with that. I don't think that it's going to do that at all, But I also don't think. I think I would be wrong if I said there's no contribution, right? Marlon said lyrical content should be regulated, but I understand the concern of who regulate the regulators. That's the thing, Marlon. That's the thing. Lyrical content should be regulated. And once I regulate it, I prefer the word regulated than the word censor. I don't like the word censor, right? And when you say regulated, we mean where it goes, right? Because again, no different from when an artist goes and performs inside a club where you have to walk through the doors, pay to get in, the doors close behind you, and it's a private sphere in there, right? They're not restricted to what they can say in there. The content can't be controlled, because they're in a private space. You go in there, right? You went in there, right? So, but as far as them out in the streets performing open ear so that everybody can hear, then the regulation has to be in effect. All right. If we say we don't want regulation there, right? Because we always worry about Pandora's box. If we give them the key to lock what they want to lock, they'll lock everything. Right? But if we also say toss out all keys and open the doors, then there's certain doors you don't want open, right? So I think we're all victims of politics here in terms of nothing good is being done, and the keyword scapegoat, right? That's the reason why I very seldom have politicians on the show. Very, very rare. I think I've had one. And the other one that was supposed to come on, I told him we would not take predetermined questions. I wouldn't sensationalize the thing, but you're not going to tell me if I ask you. And that was that. Never showed up, right? So when it comes to politics, there's always an agenda. And we are leery and concerned about the agenda. And we know that there's always agenda. But, I mean, expectations bring disappointment. Do you expect any better? You know what I mean? Do you expect any better? That's what they do. But again, if we ever have an issue with what we hear on the radio, since we got a problem with them saying we're going to put some restrictions here, what is your suggestion, right? If there's at all a concern for what is played on the airwaves at will, anytime, and you're not in agreement with them so-called censoring anything on the air, what would you suggest? Because that's the one thing I have never heard. Anytime somebody says I'm in disagreement, because here's what they say. I don't agree with what's going on the first floor. But instead of we say let's fix the first floor, but we start talking about the 10th floor. But the 10th floor of it. So if you don't agree with this, how do we solve this right here? Right? Because we're saying we don't agree with it, but we kind of not coming up with any suggestions. Lyra says, but G. Cole, don't you think crime does also produce from moral decay in our society? Yeah, it does. But moral decay, when we talk about moral decay now, we're talking about, I mean, they can be one and the same because crime does form from moral decay, but don't get it twisted. Immorality and crime was never one and the same. Just like how sins and crimes aren't the same. Enough sin and a crime and enough crime and a sin. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is. But again, there's a place and the time and a place for everything. Everything has its place. We have the conversation about art imitating life, life imitating art. But people who subscribe to the theory of art imitating life conveniently don't want to agree that life also imitates art, right? There have been many people who have done ill, and when investigations done, they said they were inspired by it. I remember somebody said that, I can't remember who it is, but I can always look up the article. They were contemplating some ill, and it was an Eminem song that they were listening to that pushed them to it and saying, you know what, screw that, I'm gonna go do this. Now, as an artist, let me tell you something, I would feel terrible. This is just me. If somebody went out and committed and levied harm on somebody else because of my words, right? Because just everyone was born with free will, but it is up to us to choose right or wrong. If you stay strong within yourself, you don't have to follow the negative way. All decisions we make in life is boom, 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 free will, right? Is our own accountability. So we are the ones that must make changes and take accountability for our own stuff. That is true. You know what I mean? Richard Mason, realities, these types of subjects are always a double-edged sword. Exactly. Always. And it's just a matter of who holds the handle versus who holds the blade. That's always the case. You know what I mean? Who hold the handle and who hold the blade. That's all that is. And depending on how it is and where it goes and stuff like that. Wagwan Mitzi, what's popping? How are you? How are you? How are you? You know, again, the issue is trust. I think if we had leaders that we could trust, the feathers would not have been as ruffled as they are. If we had leaders that we could trust at all, people wouldn't be as up in arms. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, because we don't trust our leaders, and when I said we don't trust them, I mean that we just not trust them, and we've come up with some reasons not to trust them, because they have failed us and they've lied to us and they deceived us and they've been untrustworthy. And because of that, right? Everything they do, we are skeptics of. You know what I'm saying? We are skeptics of. But Jano, again, big up the people watching over there on YouTube also. Watching a lot of, oh Lord, just like how we have the nut jobs who are coming onto the feed and typing. It's a matter about certain things go hand in hand. You know, it's like you can't. Everything is just a decay going on. The Homegrown Ridiculous website has a lot of stuff on it. People, malware, people go on there. People, the criminals are just out there doing what they do, and it's almost expected that we don't say anything, right? The live stream is going on right now on YouTube, and whomever it is going in there and they're typing in whatever they want to type, right? And by that, I don't mean somebody who's watching the feed. I mean the spammers and scammers, right? They're putting what they want to put there because that's where we are right about now. You can't, there's nowhere that you can be free of it. Your children go to school, there's some kid in the class or in the school that's promoting that kind of stuff because they're taught that over there. And guess what? In their house, nobody not care what them listen to on the radio. But in my house, me care what my people listen to the radio. So there's a counter there because unfortunately, we have to admit this. They spend more time out there than they do with you. You do the math in 24 hours, right? When you there work, them there school. Right? You get up in the morning just about the same time. You're in passing. What's up? Hey, blah, 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 mwah. Breakfast is on the go. People leave. They spend time at work. You spend time at work. They spend time at school getting influenced by others, right? You come home in the evening from work. You brought home some work. You're tired. Them bring home homework. Them tired. So it's another dinner in passing, right? So the truth is, the influence that you like to think that you have, you really don't have that much of. Right? You try to patch some of that in on the weekend, but you can't take too much of them time too because they got lives too. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to do whatever the case may be, right? As well as you need a break and a breather from whatever the case may be too. Boom. Right? So, is what it is. All right. Give thanks, Sean Garrity. Enjoy. But at the end of the day, we all have a responsibility. I wouldn't want the job of those people because while they're failing miserably, I don't think there's much that they can do that they wouldn't get an F rating anyway. And I think there's much that we would disagree with what they do. You know what I mean? It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So, to wrap up, I will say this and continue to say this. I personally think things need to be done. I am not for censoring somebody's creation and somebody's content that they might create, but I definitely think there needs to be cleaning up and vacuuming of the airwaves. You know what I mean? We need a dust buster up on the airwaves because I've heard some stuff that ain't supposed to be there. Ain't supposed to be on the airwaves. We need a dust buster for the airwaves, right? Some people mention, well, it's not just Jamaica. It is not just Jamaica, but guess what? I don't give a crap about the rest of the places. That's just the issue right now, right? People act like the U.S. is loose with them things. Listen, I'm on radio. 3 different entities that are actually FCC regulated. Well, all of them are FCC regulated, but the restrictions are way stronger on those, brick and mortar radio stations in adverse to the internet stations, right? And I've had scenarios where something was played on the radio and within 15 minutes or less, the station was notified, right? In some cases fined, you know what I mean? Sanctioned, if you will, and that risk of losing licensing. And I've had places where stations had multiple licensing and some licensing taken away as a result, right? It's like serving alcohol to minors. You will lose your liquor license for stuff like that. Make no bones about it. You will. So at the end of the day, to act kind of like, well, why Jamaica doing these things? America is free. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And to be honest with you, this is just my opinion. I hear less filth on the airwaves here, right? Maybe it's just because they are making music that people are buying. Because what I've found out too is this: the music we're talking about right now that's on the airwave, people are bumped it in the dance and the streets love it, but nobody now buy it. And the difference with the business that in other countries they're trying to make music to sell it. People are buying the music, so they make the good music and sell it to people, and that's why the areas are cleaner. I always say cleaner. I mean, trash is there, and trash is relative. I don't want to call the people in music trash. What I should say is just content less than inspirational to me is out there, but it's in its right place, right? And if I need to go find, I'm a big fan of Pac, Big, Wu-Tang, right? I'm a big fan of Scarface. I'm a big fan of Meth and Red. I'm a big fan of Nas, Jay-Z, and I'm going hip hop with it right about now. I'm from back in the day. LL. I'm a big fan of Rakim. I'm a big fan of Karis One. I'm a big fan of all of the hip hop greats and the ones right now. And I'm a big fan of Trick Daddy. I'm a big fan of Luke. And they're not all preachers. They say stuff too. But guess what? It's not on the radio. Because while I don't mind putting on my headphone and bump to some 2 Live Crew, I ain't trying to hear 2 Live Crew on the radio when I got my daughter in the car with me. I'm not trying to hear certain songs on the radio, some Too Short that I would jam in my headphones on the radio when I got my mom or my grandma in the car with me. Right? When I got my nieces and nephews that are a year and 2 and 3, I want them to come hang out with me, and when they go back to their host, they're talking about back that ass up, and their mama like, what? Where did you learn that from? I was hanging out with Uncle Greg. Right? Larry says, there's one way to deal with the issues. Certain songs vetted and screened and the violence influenced ones removed from the playlist. You then have a watershed period that the selected songs that meets the Broadcasting Corporation remits can be played. And that's what people are saying should be the thing. Again, remember, we're talking about an entity that we don't trust, right? We're talking about an entity that we don't trust. So, as we say, bring in a regulator, our regulatory board, right, to govern this thing. Then we start, once we bring them in with it, then who them? Who them? Because guess what? They can be influenced and they may be puppeteered. You know what I mean? Maybe they're sent there by, who creates this? You know what that would be like? I'm going to give you a perfect example, Larry, what that is like. That's like human resources. Somehow, they have managed to convince employees that they're there for them when human resources works for the company. Have you ever benefited from human resources? Mm-mm. Even if you think you have, you did not. Human resources, whatever they gave you to pacify you for you to feel like you benefited from them, it was protecting the company from a lawsuit on the other end. So that's what we got to be careful. Like, it's like a human resource department. It's not working for you. So now we have this regulatory board that you're bringing to bodyguard and police the music. But the regulatory board works for or are influenced by the government. Or who determines? Where does discretion come into play? Because at the end of the day, when the regulatory board comes into play, guess what? There's going to be at least one song that they deem not fit for airplay that you don't see the problem with. Right? And here is the saddest part about this. This stuff started years ago based on sexual innuendo and stuff like that in music, right? But they never brought up soca in the mix, and soca was the most sexually suggestive music ever, right? Because the classism part of it played into it, and it never, an uptown thing that didn't really affect the vibe. You understand? Marlon said, it's right. That has always been my narrative, G Code. It is true. Larry said, gone are the days when you have explicit songs separate from radio edit. You know what I mean? Is it lack of talent or is it lazy? I think it's a combination of both. Right? Coach, a great topic about music tonight. I enjoy positive vibes. Give thanks. Bless up, bless up, bless up. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get up out of here, and I want to say thank you to each and every one for joining us. I want to thank all my callers, too. I want to thank all the callers that tried to call in and call the wrong numbers. I apologize again. I also want to apologize to the person who I gave their number out erroneously. My bad. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. I might just blame this on the technology. They messed up. As a matter of fact, it's such a blatant screw up that I refuse to take responsibility for it. I'm going to be like the Jamaican government right now. I refuse. Apple messed up. WhatsApp messed up. It imported something incorrectly. You know what I mean? Larry, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all very, 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 very much. All right. Again, remember, subscribe to the podcast Homegrown with G Cole. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, YouTube, wherever you're listening to a podcast. We're there. We'll listen to some great music. We talk to some great people. Want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Julian Marley, for passing through. I want to thank Mr. Gussie Clark, CD, legendary producer, for passing through, right? Strings, the band, for passing through. And we have some great things coming up, all right? Again, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them. You know what I mean? At my G Cole, but especially Instagram, because phone's in my hand. That's where I go to first, is Instagram. So if you want to be in the know and know exactly what, who, when, where, how, go to Instagram at my G Cole. All right? Everybody that watched the show today, please go over to Instagram and subscribe. Or should I say, follow me on Instagram. All right? And then last but not least, hop on over to YouTube. Type in Homegrown with G Cole. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We need to get the numbers up. I know Facebook is my place of choice because to me it's easier to interact and I love interacting with y'all. All right. But YouTube has its place and a lot of people like YouTube and whatever the case may be. And there are some contents that I can't put on Facebook that I can put on YouTube. So when you get off of here too, just do me a favor. So you're going to give me 60 seconds out of your day afterwards. When you get off of here, go over to YouTube, type in Homegrown G Cole. Thank you so much, Larry. And I'll subscribe. All right? Appreciate y'all, man. Quick squeeze off that Tiana Star. Squeeze it off before we roll up on it. Squeeze it off.
Everywhere I'm turning, nothing seems complete. I stand up and I'm searching for the better part of me. I hang my head from sorrow, state of humanity.
Large up the band Strings. Large up, thank you so much for my hat. Jackie and Olivier,
On my
thank you so much.
gotta find the strength in me, 'cause I am superwoman.
Getting my hat on.
Yes, I am. Yes, she is. Even when I'm a mess, I still put on a vest.
Next week, I'm going to give away a Homegrown with G Cole hat, right?
I'm a superwoman.
I'm going to give away one of those. And I think it's time to give away a Homegrown with G Cole t-shirt, all right?
For all the mothers fighting, better days to come. And all my women sitting here trying to come home before the sun. Come home before the sun. And all my sisters coming together to say yes I will, yes I can, 'cause I am superwoman. Yes I am, yes she is. 'Cause even when I'm a mess, I still put on a vest with an S on my chest. Oh yes, I'm a superwoman. When I'm breaking down.
Nakikinika sa música Homegrown with G Cole.
Estás escuchando Homegrown con G Cole.
您现在正在收听的是 Homegrown with G Cole.
You're listening to Homegrown with G Cole.
Beneath these clothes, I can fly.
Hey, Hope, how are ya?
We can fly.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate you.
'Cause I am superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. Even when I'm a mess, I still put on a vest with an S on my chest. Oh,
y'all so much. Catch y'all on the flip side, all right?
'Cause I am Superwoman.